Arizona Theater Matters presents Ghosts of the Gilded Stage, featuring the voices of Michael Raleigh as Albin Matthews, Joseph Brahm, narrator, production manager Kevin Ty, audio assistant Sydney Wolf, video production and direction Ololade Adekanmi, artistic sign language performer Boluwatife Makanjula, written and directed by Jean Marie Simpson.
Ghosts of the Gilded Stage by Jean Marie Simpson. Character, Albin Matthews. Not young. Theater is in his bones. He doesn't monologue, he remembers aloud. He doesn't confess, he unpacks. He doesn't ask for sympathy. He wears a sport coat that used to be tailored, a black t-shirt that's seen 100 callbacks, soft jeans, velvet slippers, a winter scarf, not styled, just lived in. Setting. A stage. The time is now, or close enough. There is no fourth wall. A ghost light stands stage left, lit, bare bulb, steel cage. A faded gilded trunk, center stage, closed. A Victorian parlor chair, worn velvet upholstery, and one badly repaired leg. A small, beat-up side table beside the Victorian chair. Nothing ornate. Could have been salvaged from the theater's props closet. Just enough surface for 2 or 3 items. A box marked donations. A rubbish bin. A brass skeleton key on the little table. Not hidden, not offered, just there. A rolling clothes rack is slightly upright. Everything's been left, like someone meant to come back. No one did. Act 1. The ghost light hums. The trunk waits. The chair sits askew, empty but not unoccupied. Light rises, not a cue, but a creeping memory. No sound, just space. Albin enters from somewhere practical, a hallway, a door, an edge. He steps in, pauses, sees the ghost light, the key. He doesn't touch either. He walks to the table, removes a peach from his pocket, and sets it on the table, along with his sunglasses. Turns to the chair, removes his sport coat, drapes it across the back, straightens it out of habit. Pulls off his scarf, drapes it over the sports coat, looks around, remembering, picks up the key.
Skeleton key. Stone walls, wood floor, cold, no matter the season. You can still see the hymn numbers on the wall under 7 million coats of paint. Costume loft above the choir. Narrow ladder nailed into the wall. Always damp. I was always sent because I feared neither heights nor ghosts. We needed a coat. Officers, double-breasted, brass buttons, epaulettes, for a duel. Or an execution. Something dramatic. The boxes were marked by hand. Troubled periods. Aren't they all? Dignified men. Crowd. I opened one marked, not yet sorted. Inside, masks peeling at the edges. Smelled like old glue. A cravat curled hard with starch. Feathers, loose. And one velvet hanger. Nothing on it but ribs. A full set of human ribs. Yellowed, curved. Hung like a necktie. No tag, just a safety pin through the bone. I brought it down. Stage manager was horrified. Put it back. So I did. We ran a farce instead. Actors hated it. Audiences didn't care. Later, they moved the boxes. No one said where, but the ladder stayed nailed to the wall. There was a door in the fly gallery, locked from the inside. One night during a thunderstorm, someone heard humming behind it. Not a song, just humming, like someone passing time. Stage manager turned on the ghost light. Next day, it was out. And so was the storm. Found a rope backstage once, coiled wrong. Every other line was neat. That one snagged, frayed in the middle. They told me not to touch it, so I didn't. I stepped around it, even when it was in the way. At another place, I watched the paint frame move. No wind, no one on deck, movement. Half an hour before curtain. We went up late that night. The Scottish play. Old Opera House, Western Circuit stop, Bernhardt had played there, Booth, Langtry. We ran through the full month of October, closed on Halloween. No flats, just scaffolding. One of the witches broke mid-performance. Started screaming at the other witches, louder than the lines. Lady M, in full regalia, climbed the back of the scaffold, dragged her down by the shoulders, and threw her out the backstage door. We kept the scene going. A few nights later, the oleo curtain, been hanging 135 years, tore straight across and crashed to the stage. Just missed the banquet table and all the actors. Just missed the banquet table and all the actors. Audience screamed. And up in the boxes, balcony rails, stairwell landing, you could see the ghosts. Slipping in and out. Cast saw them. Crew. Audience.
He holds the key a moment longer.
Skeleton key. Designed to enter.
He inserts the key, turns, the lock clicks. He opens the lid. Silence. He looks inside, at the things memory just let loose.
And then we call it art.
Sits, slowly, like memory has weight. Pulls out a sparkly sash.
I was a quiet child. Not shy, but careful. My mother said I asked too many questions with my eyes. So she gave me books, told me stories, taught me to sew. She was a nurse, knew how to stitch people together. She wasn't theatrical, but she knew what stage fright looked like in a son who hadn't said the words yet. My father was a man who shook hands like he was still proving something. He didn't yell. He just looked at me like I was a riddle he never meant to solve. And when he couldn't, he left the room. When I was 6, I wore a towel like a cape and determined to be called Lady Marzipan of the Moon. My mother laughed. My father left the room, as usual. He didn't hit. He just didn't stay. A quieter kind of bruise.
He stays seated, leaning forward slightly like speaking to a mirror.
I used to play dress-up with my mother's old clothes. Not the ones she wore to work. The one she kept in the cedar chest she never opened. I opened it. There was a nightgown, silky, not see-through, but it felt expensive. And a robe with velvet cuffs, sleeves too long. There was a lipstick, plum realness. I'd smear it on in the bathroom with the fan running, then scrub it off before dinner and pretend my lips were just chapped. My mother knew. She didn't say. But one day it was gone. Replaced with a softer shade, one that wiped off easier. No questions. My mother had her last at 42. Worked nights for 5 years straight. Had a hysterectomy and never called it that. Just said, "I'm done, love." My parents shared a room, but not a life. They slept in shifts, and no one ever handed off the baton. Mass was our calendar, feast days, Lent, Stations of the Cross. The church smelled like candles and cigar smoke. The priests loaned me old decommissioned cassocks, let me rewrite the Passion Play with musical numbers. Didn't blink when I made Herod a drag queen. Father Francis leaned over during our final dress rehearsal and told me, "Old actors never die. They just go back to the chorus." Well, he laughed. I didn't get it. They never touched me or any of us. Not that way. It was the altar boys who got me in trouble. First sips of communion wine behind the sacristy, then fumbling touches in the vestry. First kiss that wasn't imagined. He was older. Well, not much. Just enough to seem sure. He kissed me like he'd done it before. I kissed him like I was praying. Well, I had friends. Well, of course I did. 2 girls, Annie and Bea. We lived on the same street. We made up plays on Bea's front porch. Our greatest work, The Princess and the Time-Traveling Mailman. I played both parts, naturally. Bea did sound effects. Annie made costumes out of old pillowcases. We charged our parents 50 cents. My father never came. My mother cheered like it was Broadway. Eventually, the girls moved on, not cruelly. Boys, sports, popularity. It was time. I stayed with the mirror, with the towel capes, with the record player, and my private revivals of Funny Girl. I didn't feel lonely. Not then, because in my head, the audience always came back. Middle school, a substitute teacher. A copy of Our Town, highlighted by 3 students before me. They read it like a comedy. I thought it was the saddest thing I'd ever heard. And then came Midsummer and The Sash. Suddenly, the parts of me that were too much, too soft, too strange, too still, were necessary.
He looks out, not at us, just past himself.
In theater, no one asked why I stood that way, why I spoke with my hands, why I knew every lyric to Carousel but couldn't catch a ball. They just asked, "Can you be off book by Tuesday?" I didn't come out. I unfolded, I guess. No drama, no announcement, just one day. A boy in the cast held my hand in the wings and I didn't pull away.
He looks down at his hands, older, but steady.
We kissed behind the costume rack next to a broken fog machine. It smelled like sweat and fabric paint. Oh, it was perfect. No one said anything. No one had to. And somehow, it still feels like the safest room I've ever been in.
He reaches into the trunk, pulls out something soft, a piece of green fabric, a faded length of tulle. He folds it once, holds it in both hands with the sash, smiles, small, honest.
Ah, my first costume piece that wasn't made from something I already owned. Oh, I stood there, just stood, and the lighting cue hit, and someone in the front row gasped. I wasn't cast. I was folded in.
He lifts the fabric again, buries his face in it, breathes it in.
And they saw me. Not the glitter, not the part, me. And the way the light bounced off my little face. Afterwards, someone said, "You looked like a star." I believed them. My mother wasn't theatrical, but she liked the sound of applause. She said theater made me easier to live with. Well, a year later, they gave me Puck. I leapt from a rolling ladder and called it flight.
He softens.
I did the speech, the one they all know. If we shadows have offended, think but this, and all is mended. Then came the Fantastics. I played Matt, my first lead, my first stage kiss that wasn't ironic or blocked for laughs. I sang Soon It's Gonna Rain. They told me I didn't have to be perfect, I just had to mean it. And God help me, I did.
He picks up the sash again, folds it, tags it carefully.
And for a while, there was more.
He hangs the sash gently, lets it settle. Stays there a moment longer before turning away. Act 2. He reaches into the trunk, pulls out a corset, velvet, structured, worn but intact. He runs a hand down the front, finds the zipper.
Cheat corset. Front zip, no laces, no hooks. Built for speed, not period. But it did the job. Cinched the waist, lifted what needed lifting. You could still breathe? Barely.
He steps into it, zips it up with a single pull. The effect is instant. Not drag, not costume. Realignment. Muscle memory.
She wore the robe over it during warm-ups. Wasn't meant to be seen.
He takes a few careful steps. He turns, modest, familiar, not performing, just remembering.
She opened the show from the top of a staircase. Didn't descend, just stood there, smoking. Like the plot owed her something. Tech called her the ghost of musicals past. Audience called her brave. Some of them whispered it. One of them sent flowers. Gardenias. I kept the card for a while.
Silence, he exhales, slowly, and the shape of her stays.
She was only ever in that one show. The Widow's Cabaret original book, 6-piece band. We had one staircase, 3 mirrors, a fog machine that couldn't be trusted. Sometimes it filled the house. The night it hit the dressing rooms, the bass player finally quit. There was a quick change in Act 1, 2 dressers, a bucket of ice, and a prayer. Never missed the cue, though, not once. Her second song was a tango. She didn't dance it. She issued commands. We rehearsed in an old Legion hall. 2 fluorescent lights, 1 working toilet. Director screamed when a rat scampered across the floor. She said, "It's good luck. That's how we know it's alive in here." The widow had a lover, Julian, pretty boy. Bad with lines. I kissed him under a red gel in every town we played. We didn't talk much after curtain, but once, in Regina, he held my hand when the lights blacked out early. Neither of us said a word. She had a monologue before the finale, 3 minutes, no music. Just a chair, a drink, and the ghost of her first husband. She never blinked, so I didn't.
He sits carefully. The corset shifts with him. He doesn't adjust it. He breathes against it.
I tried to wear it again after, alone. Didn't work. This is the same chair we used in her final scene. That was the last show I did in heels. I wore it the night the mayor came. Bow on my hip, gardenias in my hair. Never heard what she thought of the show. But she stayed till the end.
He walks back to the chair, sits slowly, legs apart.
All right.
He unzips the corset in one motion, its size open.
I'm too old to put up with that noise.
He stands again, picks up the corset, doesn't cradle it, doesn't mourn it, just holds it like a thing that's done its job. He walks to the rack, hangs it on a padded hanger. The zipper catches. He fixes it. He pulls a tag, ties it. Writes something short. Just enough. The rack wobbles a little as he lets go. Then he turns back to the trunk.
She never liked to be put away, but there's only so long a character gets to haunt a room.
He unties a ribbon. A stack of letters loosens in his hands. He holds them.
My agent sent these. Said she was tying up loose ends. It was the Widow's Cabaret. Original show, original score. We toured it. Wasn't for everyone.
He He reads snippets from the letters.
Too introspective. Have you considered a clearer protagonist? There's something here. We're just not sure what. We're looking for stories with more hope.
He folds the ribbon back over the top, ties it, pulls an empty shoe bag out of the trunk, puts the letters in it, hangs the packet on the rack, tags it. Then,
But some of them, they knew exactly where and how to cut, so it would hurt the most.
he turns. One letter remains. He picks it up, looks at it, folds it, slips it into the pocket of his sport coat.
I've got about 6 months, give or take. Got the news in a mauve room with a laminate desk and a fake plant trying its best. The doctor was kind. The lighting was not. They said I could still perform within reason.
He pulls from the trunk a heavy old scrapbook bursting at the seams of clippings, flips it open.
Ah, the juvenilia. Before range, before nuance. Regional theater, touring Shakespeare, a few musicals I had no business being in. And yet the critics came. And they wrote. They wrote like they were auditioning for America's Next Top Theater Snob. Mr. Matthews throws himself into the role of Lysander with the abandon of a young man who's never been told no. An enthusiasm that borders on criminal. He crosses the stage like a catwalk model doing Chekhov.
He crosses to the chair and sits.
That one came from the Toledo Independent Review. The critic signed it Delphinia. She was not subtle.
He flips the page.
A performance of such intensity and commitment that one wonders if Mr. Matthews has recently escaped from somewhere. His Benedict is foppish, furious, and, frankly, feral. I enjoyed it more than I should have. That was from the Santa Fe Beacon. Turned out to be a retired drama teacher with a schnapps addiction. Matthew's Romeo has the posture of someone who's eaten too much for breakfast. Juliet didn't deserve him. The audience didn't either. That one was laminated. By me. He enters like a storm in eyeliner and exits like a curse. I, who was wearing a sheer blouse and 3 rosaries, Mercutio, never, ever looked so papist.
He flips faster now.
Mr. Matthews simmers with a sort of sex appeal that has no business in family theater. He acts like he's been dared to seduce the whole front row and wins. That one was from the Chicago Tribune, Sunday matinee. They ran the review next to an ad for carpet cleaning and a recipe for persimmon aspic.
He turns another page. The section's glued more carefully. The scissors were steadier. He was still trying to make it look professional.
And then came the contradictions. I played Richard III in a converted funeral home in Denver. We used real crutches. The hump was made from upholstery foam and hot glue. Matthew's Richard is slick, sharp, and unhinged. He slinks across the stage like a cocktail party sociopath. Great, right? Same show, different city. This Richard snarls and purrs but offers no weight, like watching a cobra read cue cards. And then, my favorite, Mr. Matthews' villainy is so deliciously over the top, I expected him to bite someone. He didn't. I was disappointed. She underlined it 3 times. My mother.
He flips.
His pack is not so much mischievous as mildly threatening, like a mime with a grudge. I got that on opening night. Second night, same paper. Matthews brings such gravity to Puck that the play begins to feel like Hamlet will glitter. I asked the reviewer at curtain call what changed. He said, I was sober tonight. This is where I started learning you can't follow the praise. It's a house of mirrors. Some see a prince, some see a ghost. And some are too busy flirting with their own regret to see anything at all.
He turns another page.
Mr. Matthews plays John Proctor like he's trying to seduce the court. Powerful, yes, but confusing. She signed it, Miss Agatha Penelope Crane, then mailed me her hotel key. Room 407. She'd circled it in lipstick. Silly twat.
The scrapbook closes a little.
That's when I started to wonder. What if they weren't wrong? What if I really was seducing them? What if I mastered admiration before I ever touched belief?
He taps the cover of the book.
Oh, and then the cult years. Strasberg, Adler, Morris. The holy trinity of emotional damage. I chased them like salvation. Each one promising to break me open the right way. You're carrying something in your stomach. What is it? Is it shame? Is it your father? Let's leak it into the monologue. It was gas. I was 24 and on a cabbage-heavy diet. Strasberg demanded your childhood. Adler demanded your dreams. Morris just wanted a sea sponge. They all told me I was close, on the edge of something. Nobody ever told me what. 6 months crying into a rehearsal chair like I was paying rent on the trauma. Did a full showcase playing a man who'd lost his dog. I've always been a cat person.
Shoulders square, nose up. Tentious. Adler.
Darling, Hamlet doesn't need your diary. He needs your imagination. Picture your soul with better lighting.
He leans back now. Lazy, broken, bitter. Morris.
Let the emotion find you. Do not pursue it. Let it happen. Be the barnacle. I didn't feel like a barnacle. I felt like a fraud. I tried to feel something. Instead, I learned to fake it better. And then I went the other way. Outside in. Let the wardrobe make the man. Don't choose. Let the boots decide. I built entire characters around wigs. One director called it shallow. Another called it fascinating. Neither asked me back.
He folds his hands gently.
Eventually, I stopped choosing technique. Let the play tell me what it needed. The truth is, you only find your own process after you've survived everyone else's. Meisner got it right. After all the sobbing in chairs, after Strasberg dug through my childhood like a dog under a fence, after Adler told you to imagine grief as a chandelier, after Eric Morris made me crawl on the floor and piss at my own reflection, Meisner said, do something, not feel, not remember, just act.
He shifts.
Autonomous action. Clean the table, polish a shoe, peel an orange. Let the line hit you mid-fold, mid-scrub, mid-whittle. It saves you. Because suddenly it's not about the goddamn performance, it's about getting the stain out. When I played Lopahin, I was far too young, but we all were. We were our own young company that was going to redefine the art form. Well, we were pretentious idiots, but that was when I finally cracked it. I folded shirts in Act 2. Nobody told me to, it just happened. By week 2, the director stopped me and said, why are you folding laundry all the time? And I didn't know. I just knew I loved the way it felt. So I looked at him and said, off the cuff, oh, not laundry. I'm unpacking my old life, folding it into the furniture of my new one. The director blinked once and said, keep it. The words affect the action. The action carries the weight. Not your face, not your pain, the cloth in your hand, the floor beneath you. Do something. And that's when Hamlet came calling. 27, lean, hollow-eyed, the kind of age where you still believe grief can be memorized. We mounted it in Chicago. Not Steppenwolf, but close enough to smell the ambition and grease paint. Exposed brick, 10 borrowed nights, and a skull that smelled like mildew from 1937. I lived on apples and black coffee. I flirted with Nietzsche. It worked on exactly one stage manager. I wore a turtleneck like the bastard child of Bourbon and Chekhov. God, I thought I was dangerous. I thought I'd take an action-based performance to its purest form where thinking felt like movement. I'd been watching way too much French art film. I broke it open one vowel at a time. Every pause was intentional, every movement scored, timed, framed.
He removes the laminated clipping from its sleeve. Paper doesn't bend. It's been folded, unfolded, remembered.
The Tribune came second Friday. Third row, center aisle. He wore a trench coat. Blaine, Osric, over-powdered and over-invested, came backstage mid-fight call, breathless, said, "He's here," grinning like he just discovered ice cream. Stupid old cow. Mr. Matthews brings clarity and control to the role of Hamlet. Each soliloquy is sculpted, each movement measured. This is a Hamlet that understands the text, but fears the emotion beneath it. One admires the precision, one longs for the pain.
He lowers the review.
That was it. Not cruel. Not kind. Just surgical. And it wrecked me, because I knew he was right. I didn't unravel, I presented. Didn't descend, just delivered. I didn't grieve. I gave a TED talk.
He folds the clipping back into thirds, neat, like it always has been, like it always will be.
That didn't drive me out of the land of the free and the home of the brave. That came later. But this was the first time I really got it. Perfection isn't the point. Presence is. And I wasn't there.
Begins to close the book, but one last clipping catches his eye.
Alban Matthews as Lucentio moved with the sensual grace of a ferret in a wet Speedo.
He crosses to the table and puts the scrapbook under his sunglasses in peach. He goes to the trunk, pulls out a heavy, crimson, water-stained cloak with royal trim. He shrugs it on, loose. The sleeves hang long. The collar's off-center. He doesn't fix it.
Richard II, the speech, the mirror, the fall. Wow, you only get one of those if you're lucky.
He stands still a moment.
For I must nothing be.
He looks to the audience. Crooked smile.
That's how it starts. Wrecked half the cast. No one knew when to breathe. Therefore, no. For I resign to thee.
He turns over the crown.
Now mark me how I will undo myself. I asked to cut that line. Director said, absolutely not. Called it the spine of the scene. It felt like a warning. I give this heavy weight from off my head.
He mimes the gesture, slowly.
In this unwieldy scepter from my hand. We used a walking stick. Props said it had gravitas. Truth was, they didn't want to dig deeper in storage. Called it an artistic choice. Said the wear made it noble. It was splintered, like most of us. Back then, I had to pretend the weight hurt.
He looks down, as if into a mirror.
With mine own tears, I wash away my balm. With mine own hands, I give away my crown. They clapped. For the speech, obviously, not for the actor. All pomp and majesty I do forswear. Too hot, too bright. Almost passed out in Act 3. No one noticed. I kept going. And my large kingdom for a little grave. For God's sake, let us sit upon the ground and tell sad stories of the death of kings. During my last infusion, the guy in the next chair said, I wish they had those rainbow popsicles we got as kids. He couldn't remember what they were called. I knew exactly what he meant. I can't remember the name either. But my mouth starts watering when I think of them, for within the hollow crown.
He steps forward, the robe now only fabric, no longer armor.
There was a boy in the cast, fresh out of drama school, full of Grotowski and coconut oil. He told me to deliver the whole speech seated. Said it grounded the fall. I told him to ground himself where the spotlight don't shine. Keeps death his court. For God's sake, let us sit upon the ground and tell sad stories of the death of kings.
Removes the robe, tags it.
I sat too early once, missed the cue. Bolingbroke froze. We called it the royal pause.
He stops, speaks directly to the audience.
I wonder what you were promised tonight.
He reaches into the trunk. Slower now. His hand pauses, then pulls out a small card, creased, smudged, the kind they hand out at table reads. He reads it and quickly flings it onto the chair.
Fuck me, how the fuck did that get in there? I sure as fuck didn't save it. Ugh. Every actor has one show that felt like salvation. That one project that made you believe it all meant something. This was mine. New play. Brilliant script. Experimental realism, they called it, which meant no one knew what the hell they were doing. But God, we believed in it. Small cast. Bare stage. All pain and no set. Director said he saw me. Alban, this part lives in your marrow. I said, good. That's where the bruises are.
He half smiles, then drops it.
We rehearsed for 7 weeks. He rewrote scenes during blocking improvs, called it collaboration. The role was mine. I had the contract, the fittings, the monologue in my sleep. I'm to study rehearsal. He used my breath, my rhythm, like he'd written it. Then Equity called. Said the producers were buying out my contract. 2 weeks severance. Nothing personal. I called that bitch. No answer. Left a message with the company manager. Never got a call back. Dropped by the theater the next day. Nobody made eye contact. Nobody said a word. Theater's supposed to be family, especially opening week. Especially when it's falling apart and you're holding each other with spirit gum and spike tape.
Long pause, he doesn't move.
7 weeks. My name just gone. After the show, the director told me, "You're too internal. You disappear."
He unfolds the scarf, rough, like it's a wound.
I disappeared. No, I was erased. Later, I learned it was agreed. I was too light in the loafers. Well, that's what they called it then. Not queer, not gay, just light. Like it was a wardrobe note. Oh, like I could butch it up for the second act. Played Stanley. Stanley. John Proctor, Mark Antony. Not once a Tom.
We had wives, in scripts and in life. My first wife was a lighting designer named Julia. She was American. I needed a green card. Bingo. I grew up in Canada, born, raised, trained here, got scooped into a U.S. tour straight out of drama school, and stayed until Julia and I came back up to Toronto. The crew called her my beard. She called me family. We fled to Canada, said it was for work, but really we were chasing acceptance. She married a woman here. I married a man, quietly, in a room that smelled like lemon oil.
Back to the scarf.
And still, he said I disappeared. I was right there.
He picks up the card like it might burn him, flings it in the rubbish bin. Act 3. Back to the trunk. He pulls out a dusty top hat, crushed, misshapen, stares at it like it owes him back pay.
Scrooge. Annual production. 20 years. Same director, same snow machine, same fake roast goose. This one always smelled like mothballs and cheap gin. I played it with a limp by year 10. By year 15, I didn't have to fake the limp.
He puts the hat on, just for a second, removes it, sits on top of the rack.
Kids came and went. Taller the next season, replaced the season after that with a new crop of urchins. Paper chains, plastic snow, fog that coughed like a heavy smoker. And always, always, someone in the front row crying at the second ghost. Some ghosts become part of the set.
He tags the hat, returns to the trunk. Slower. Pulls out a soft brown coat. Looks heavier now.
Willie. Poor bastard.
He doesn't put the coat on. He holds it like an old friend he stopped calling.
I played him too early the first time. Too late the last. Somewhere in the middle. I forgot how to save him. He's not tragic because he dreams. He's tragic because he remembers. One night I forgot the line about the fridge. Stood there. Blank. I said, "It hums sometimes." You forget what silence feels like in that house. What grief sounds like when it's still married.
He folds the coat over his arm, looks at it. He walks it to the rack, hangs it, tags it, doesn't look back.
They don't need me in the office anymore. They never did.
He reaches into the trunk, pulls out a shapeless cardigan, worn, pilled, comforting.
Grandpa, and you can't take it with you. 8 weeks. One fitting.
He slides into the cardigan. It doesn't transform him. It reveals him.
After curtain, a kid came up to me and said, "You look like my real grandpa." I call that connection. For men without children, there's that.
He turns to the trunk, hesitates, then pulls out the crown, tarnished, dented, magnificent.
Oh, I remember when I'd have given my arm to play Lear. Now it's too easy. One for the joy, one for the grief. I wore them both. And I don't know which one fit better. Oh, they said Lear meant you'd arrived. No one tells you what it means when you're done.
He sets the crown on his head. The cardigan stays on. He steps center. The light sharpens. Colder now.
Blow winds and curl your cheeks.
Then, without changing posture,
You forgot your boots. Rage. Blow. Don't yell, I'm right here. I am a man more sinned against than sinning. Well, I told him not to put onions in the meatloaf. No one listens to Grandpa.
he shifts, ever so slightly. Posture, breath. It's not impression. It's memory.
Do you see this? Look there. Look there. I see you. Of course I do. You look like you needed it.
He's both now. Lear's fire is in his eyes. Grandpa's ache in his shoulders.
No breath at all? Only enough to say goodbye. Do you
Light
see this?
tight around him, shadows start to grow.
Do you see this? Look there. Look there. You said you do him by sound alone. Let me wipe it first. It reeks of mortality. You don't need to carry all of them, just the ones you can still name. Is this the promised end? No. Just the lights coming down.
He lowers the crown.
Nobody could take that from me. Some kings fall. Some grandfathers shine. I did both. 6 nights a week. And never once did it feel like a lie.
He walks to the chair, sets the crown on the seat, folds the cardigan on top of it.
Some exes don't need applause, just grace. But hey, I'm still here, right? That's something.
He starts throwing broken old stuff away and pitching some in the donation bin.
Old tights and pratfalls, I've worn them all, and my dear, I'm still here. Stitches and sweat stains, quick changes, quiet with fear. Still here. There's thread in my coat from a show no one saw, but I remember. So I'm here. Shared scripts and silence, rooms with one bulb and one chair. I'm still here. Tech weeks and 10 lines, curtains that never quite clear. But I'm here. I've cued the storm, I've played the wind, missed the mark, still leaned in, and I'm here. Flops with no endings, fans with the names on their mail. I'm still here. Notes full of questions. Is there a story to tell while I'm here? You don't need a hit to be part of the song. You just need breath. And I'm here. Hope is for young ones. Me, I'll take silence and tea. And I'm here. Yes, my dear. Still here.
Quiet breath. He turns back to the ghost light.
Everything I ever was is in this room.
He crosses to the trunk, closes it. Slow. Final.
I always thought I'd go out with a blackout. Nor a standing ovation.
Crosses to the coat rack. Begins pulling tags, reading them, one by one, quietly.
Lot 14, Crimson Cloak used in 2 productions and 1 regrettable wedding reception. Lot 29, brown wool coat, mildew smell. Buyer note, used in cosplay. Lot 46, single velvet glove, no match found, like most of us. They asked for a catalog, as if a life in the theater were something you could bullet point. I used to think theater kept things alive. Really? It teaches you how to say goodbye. I used to fear dementia after seeing what it did to my mother. Remembering is worse, I think.
He picks up the bruised peach from the table.
The man downstairs gave me this. Said it looked like I needed it.
He sets it on the trunk. It wobbles. He steadies it.
It'll rot in a day. But he meant well. Hope is a young man's monologue. At my age, we settle for clarity.
He pulls one final tag from his pocket, doesn't write on it, just holds it for a beat, then tucks it into the trunk, closes the lid.
They'll figure it out.
He walks back to the ghost light, stands beside it, just like in the beginning.
Hospice choir rehearsal is every day before lunch. Apparently they need tenors. I said I could still fake a baritone if the lighting's right. Old actors never die. They just go back to the chorus.
Lights fade. The ghost light stays on. End of play.
Made possible by grants from the Arizona Commission on the Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts. Ghosts of the Gilded Stage. Written and directed by Jean Marie Simpson. Performed by Michael Raleigh, Joseph Brahm, and Bolawatife Makanjuola. Video production and direction, Ololade Adekanmi. Production manager, Kevin Tai. Audio assistant, Sydney Wolf. Titles announcer, Ray Williams. A production of Arizona Theater Matters. Nothing about us without us. I'm Ray Williams. Thank you for joining us.